Okay, the first order of business today, we have a request, Frank Stone, Tom Miller, and Jerry Tuley to remove a plotted road that is adjacent to their properties. Is anyone here to represent them? Okay, we will table that for now and come back if they show up. Then Nathan, you're next. Morning.
First on my list, give you some updates on the courthouse project. Our owner's contingency has an actual balance of $398,465.50 and an on-paper balance of $481,219.50. These totals account for one pending expenditure directly out of the contingency, as well as a handful of small change orders I approved last week, one of which actually returned money to us, and the other three of which were all minor. We are still for at least one or two disbursements in the First National Bank of Monterey tranche of funds before we are in a position to transfer over to the funds directly held by the county. I have not yet received the change order for the adjustments that the steering committee endorsed regarding the restrooms, meeting room, tech space, and break room on the upper floor. We incurred additional design costs for revamping the plans, but I do not anticipate much cost increase from Ton and Blank because we've eliminated some drywall and framing, at least one door, and a little bit of flooring. It's entirely possible that we could actually get a little bit returned on the construction side into contingency, but that remains to be seen. There are 5 change order requests currently outstanding, one of them being the flat roof work that we okayed for time and materials. That work has been finished and the roofing job is back in the hands of that subcontractor, so I anticipate receiving the final change order for that issue this week. We have confirmed that there is caulk in areas around the roof and tower containing asbestos, so Ton and Blank will be procuring hazardous materials removal services. There was cost already built into their contract amount for the testing, so that isn't going to add anything to our bill. The actual removal will come with a cost, but part of that will be offset by a credit from the masonry subcontractors because that initially had been part of their responsibilities. The very first test results from the slab have returned and are very good. It's 5,000 PSI concrete. As committee member John Masterson explained to me, we're in good shape if we're at 70% in the first test, and this sample came back at 4,740 PSI, which is almost 95%. So as I had previously explained, I don't remember if it was to you or to the council, it's actually heavier duty concrete anyway than would be required in a use like this, and we're already exceeding expectations for the PSI. Framing with vapor barrier installation has begun on the lower level. Excavation in front of the building has been done so that Ton and Blank can pour footers for the walls on either side of the mini plaza at the entrance, and the masons have begun waterproofing the foundation in addition to continuing with grout grinding. Otherwise, several trades are continuing with their respective work, mostly all now in installation mode, except for Ton and Blank laborers who are still wrapping up a bit of demolition. Any questions on the project?
Questions?
No. All right. Moving on to broadband and hoping that by the time I am wrapping up, Mr. Dickey will have arrived. A few meetings back, I received the board's okay to look into applying for a CDBG planning grant to support the development of a county-wide broadband plan. Having spoken with Broadband Task Force Chair Kurt Dickey, Community Foundation Director Leanne Wright, and consultant Scott Rudd about this, I am now here to ask for formal approval to move forward with the application through CURPC, including authorizing me or President Mellon to sign a letter of intent if OCR requires one, and depending on whether the Chief Executive Officer has to be the one to sign it. Further, in doing so, I am asking the board to commit between $5,000 and $10,000 of the ARPA funds already allocated to a broadband plan, specifically for the local match share of the cost. If we are successful in receiving the grant, it will cost us between 10 and 20% of what we had anticipated spending if we had procured services directly. And if, planning grants are typically less competitive than construction grants, so as long as we cross all the I's, dot all the T's, it should be a fairly easy grant to receive. And if not, that 5,000 to 10,000 just doesn't get expended. There are no upfront costs when we work through CRPC.
So we allocated 50,000 earlier, or even more than a year ago. So this 5,000 to 10,000 would be a part of that.
Yes.
Correct. So we need a motion to go ahead and move forward this grant application for the CDBG planning grant. I'd make that motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any other discussion? So Okra actually writes this grant for us, right?
So CRPC does the grant writing, and their costs, their services will be built into the local match and the 50 to 70,000 or so that we would request from Okra.
And does this affect any other current broadband people working in the county?
No, depending on how things play out, there may be some redundancy, but at much less cost to the county, and it would still technically cover areas that might not be addressed by any developers that would get funded by BEAD.
Okay, any other discussion? Yes. No, I think that was the original thought behind that, and part of that will still go then. And
Yeah, so I think when the consultant was in place, we had talked about paying him out of ARPA or out of my budget, depending on where things landed. And I'm actually going to address that in a moment. But at least as I had understood it, when Kurt and Scott came with me, it was specifically to allocate that money towards an engineering plan to map out broadband needs in the county not yet addressed by existing providers or those applying for funding.
right.
So the grant would pay the engineering consultant to develop the plan. So instead of just paying 50,000 in ARPA funds to the consultant, we're going to use 5 to 10 to leverage state grant money to pay the consultant.
I think what we're saying is we still have 40,000. Pardon me, what was allocated, still not spent, because this grant will cover what we initially set the money aside for.
Yes.
I don't know how you have to report this. You have a semi-annual report or something, right? You have to annual. Right. Yes.
So I'm going to get to another 15,000 of that, leaving us with 25 to 30, depending on how much we put towards local match.
We have a motion on the table. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Okay, so to follow up on that, my second request is that you authorize using 15,000 of that on top of the 5 to 10, 15,000 of the allocated ARPA funds to pay Mr. Rudd, who has finally been convinced to bill Pulaski County services for services rendered over the last 20 months or so. If absolutely necessary, I can cover this cost out of my departmental budget, but given that I just had to request an additional appropriation to cover an undetermined total and expected and potential invoices between now and the year end, that these funds were set aside for broadband and that the planning grants, as I explained, are not as competitive, it seems worthwhile to me, and we only end up spending half of that 50,000 or so either way. So like I said, if necessary, I can pay Scott out of my departmental budget. It just might be getting close on other expected but amount unknown invoices that I'm going to get before the end of the year. The council needed to appropriate more to cover for. So this would be the broadband consultant part of it. And I don't know, Laura, exactly how precisely the language was worded when you have submitted reports regarding ARPA, if it said broadband plan explicitly or just broadband uses, but Scott indirectly and directly has been involved in guiding us toward planning for broadband development. Okay. So if they approve this, I can come by the office and talk to the two of you and make sure that what I have and what you need to do, we are all on the same page.
I think Kurt and I had sent emails back, him knowing that it needs to be spent out, in a timely manner. So we are in the position to make a motion to pay Mr. Rudd.
15,000. So yes, I would make a motion to pay Mr. Rudd 15,000 that has been allocated out of the ARPA funds.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then I have one more broadband matter, one more request for you, and I will ask Kurt here to discuss in greater detail in a moment, is that the commissioners consider authorizing President Mellon to sign a letter of support for Mainstream Fiber's application to the BEAD program for fiber internet build out in Pulaski County. And I have a copy of that attached in your packets that went out to you late Friday afternoon. In asking for this, though, I need to be clear about two things. One, while this letter itself does not bind the county to any financial obligation, it is highly likely that Mainstream will ask the county to work with them to provide a not insubstantial amount of local match funds in addition to their own investment. Financial support that could come over several years and not in a lump sum, and that might come from operating tax revenues, non-tax income, grants, other private sector sources, as may prove to be appropriate. I haven't broached this with him in detail yet. It might also come through the county's establishment of an infrastructure development district that would relieve them of tax obligations on the plant band stall. But one way or another, some mix of funding, they would be asking for support in order to make it possible. Second, it is our understanding that the Indiana Broadband Office is assigning more weight to letters of support than Okra's Next Level Connections program did, which means that it's not in our favor to offer letters for every project that may come through. But Mr. Dickey and I believe this is worthy of such support, and thus far, we have seen no concrete indication that other providers will be seeking BEAD funding for Pulaski County build out the way they did for NLC. Because it contains confidential information and is not a finalized draft, I am unable to display the map of their proposed project in a public forum, but I invite you to visit my office to review it. And I can tell you that their current plans call for coverage of approximately 200 miles of county roads with about 2,400 addresses accessible from these lines in areas throughout the county, pretty much everywhere west of US 35 that isn't served already. And I will ask Kurt to add his 2 cents, correct or confirm anything I've said.
So we've been on this journey for 20 months. We've done a lot of learning in the process. As you all know, most of the folks on the task force are volunteers. We do have, Scott Rudd has been invaluable in guiding us these last 20 months. What we've learned is that, our approach originally was to support broadband projects in the county. And what we're learning now is that we really need to put our weight behind the projects that best suit the needs of what remains to be covered with broadband. And Mainstream is approaching and has a project, and I invite you in all seriousness to visit with Nathan. They did leave a blueprint of their plan, but it's privileged information, so please go look at it. But we feel that while it's going to be a big ask of the county eventually, we think that supporting this project specifically at this point is in our best interest to meeting the needs of the remaining unserved areas or underserved areas in the county, period. We don't want to support projects that are going to potentially just take a small subsection. Now we're looking for a big let's finish it out, right? Most of the residents south of Winamac and down towards Cass County and White County and over towards Fulton County have been invested in by either RTC or Lightstream, and that coverage is coming. The remaining west of 35, Madairyville area in between, the state park and Madairyville is still a wreck, right, from when it comes to broadband. Unfortunately, the way that the federal government originally did these things is there's no commitment yet. There's been allocation of dollars, but just somebody telling you they're going to spend money doesn't mean they actually do. This project, we feel, will get us one step closer. So again, we ask the commissioners to get behind this letter and this letter for this project, because we feel that it'll add increased weight in allocation of these BEAD dollars that are becoming available. The last thing I'll say is we did go through the study of addresses. I know, Chuck, you've been involved in getting those emails as well as the other commissioners. We do have a need, right? There's a lot of underserved and unserved areas in our county, and we feel this best meets those needs to address that. So.
How big is the area, or how many?
It is, I think, about 200 miles.
200 road miles. I would guess 50 to 60% of the geographic area of the county, maybe closer to 50.
Yeah.
Like I said, basically, there is no section of the county between 35 and the Jasper County line that is skipped over. Like, there are individual sections, like if there are no buildings on County Road 1215 West, that might not have a stretch down, but basically it is a coverall map from Stark County almost to White County, and in some places to White County, and from 35 or 119 west. So like I said, there are pockets where there already are providers serving those areas, especially towards the south center and over southeast, as Kurt said, with Lightstream, and then RTC to the east and northeast. But basically anywhere outside of those service areas and a few dots, otherwise they're trying to cover as many households as possible.
And I will add that there could be other folks that ask to join in on this. If there are other businesses or entities that are in that service area, right? They have to come up with a plan and say, here's our plan for covering the residences and the businesses that we know of. Now, it could be that other folks come on and say, hey, if you put a little piece of fiber here to extend out, it would cover more. But this, for the most part, covers the worst area. Like when you look at the broadband map of our county and red is bad, this covers the red spot. This is what we've been looking for, to cover this bad area. When you go out there and your phone doesn't have a signal, right? And you can't even do, a hotspot, for, households that have kids or need, telemedicine or things like that. This covers that area. And it is the worst area of our county. And they have, just to give a little bit on Mainstream, a couple of things is they did a whole Benton County project and they focus on rural areas. So our area is their specialty, right? So they understand how to make the economics work, not only for them, but the county. But there's going to be an ask. We don't know specifically what that is yet, but this letter of support starts that process. So we want to start with that, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And then you guys can take into consideration the rest of the project.
And they, not only do they sort of focus on rural service, they're actually Indiana-based down in Nashville. And when they built out that Benton County project, they actually set up a satellite office, I think, in Fowler to serve northern expansion. So I think they told us they're looking at 2 or 3 other counties in north central Indiana, more rural counties. So we're part of a vision they have for connecting a lot of the dots that just don't get served by the big players. You know, they're not co-op like RTC or Lightstream is, but they are rural focused instead of just going for the more densely settled areas where the bigger companies can make less investment and nab more households just because they have the density.
And lastly, I'll throw their model for pricing is, I think, on the low end, $35 for, you know, basic internet service up to, you know, gigabit service, you know, which would be like around $80 in today's dollars, right? Like, you know, the change. So it is something they try to make affordable for the residents. And then, you know, for low income houses or people that, you know, might need that help, there are other programs the federal government offers to help bring that cost down further. So, you know, we know these areas, there may be, you know, lower income, so they're not afraid of that, right? They target that area because they have rural expertise. So we believe it's in our best interest at this point for the commissioners to support this statement of support and the statement of support for this project.
Okay, so we have, it's not really not binding the county to anything.
That's correct.
At this point. And the insubstantial amount.
It'll be in the millions. It'll be less than they are investing and substantially less than the grant. But until we know exactly what their map looks like, exactly how we're able to piece it together, it's sort of up in the air. And like they did say, you know, it might be, you know, over a 5-year period so that we're not committing one lump sum. And it gives us more time and flexibility to look at piecing together whether it's revenues from a solar project once it goes online, whether it is a grant we're able to secure to supplement the county's own cash in that, whether it, like I said, potentially tax savings on the back end from an IDD, some cash. We've got time and flexibility, and each year it might be a little bit different based on the county's financial picture. But that's not something where we have to be able to cut a check as soon as they sign the grant agreement if they're funded.
And let me add this, that the Purdue did a study a number of years ago, and while you can argue about the impact, the end result was the headline result out of the executive summary. For every dollar spent on broadband, there's $4 of economic benefit to spending that money on infrastructure and broadband. Now, you know, that could range from 2 to 4, but, you know, the high end is $4. Now, I don't know that, you know, that's not a promise. That's just telling you what the study did. But it is becoming increasingly important for folks to get services that they need just on an everyday, particularly in these areas where there may not be, you know, the ability to get coverage by a hot spot or even satellite coverage. So, you know, there is some rationale to this investment. And again, this isn't committing the government right now, our government, to any money. It's just, we feel supporting this project serves the county best. We'll see where that goes. And as Nathan said, there may be other people, there could be businesses that get behind this for, you know, employees that live in that area that help on these projects, or, you know, potentially solar or other businesses, farmsteads that we don't even know about. But we feel putting this stake in the sand says, this is the direction we want to go. This is what we're going to support. for the benefit of our county economically, for healthcare, for education and things like that. So,
Yeah, I wasn't questioning the importance of it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure people,
yeah, there is some
people
benefit
knew
on the
it's
flip side.
cost. It
Yeah.
is cost and, high dollar, this is a high dollar type of project, no matter where it is. And, I just wanted to kind of highlight that insubstantial
No, for
word
sure.
that was used. So, yeah, we know that it is needed and, for the negotiations of payment, hopefully can be spread over years and, we see some payback forward. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion for myself to sign a letter of support for the Main Street fiber applications to the BEAD program.
So moved.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. I have one last thing for you, and then I will yield the microphone. Wanted to visit the Revolving Loan Fund. As you know, Olson Auctions will be selling the property on 200 South at, for public record, 6:30 p.m. on next Thursday, 26th of September. While we don't know how much the sale will bring, that will be a nice addition to the fund's balance, which is currently just a hair above $200,000. Excluding Mr. Voronoff, on whom the county has foreclosed, and one borrower who is down to her last payment and is late solely because of a miscommunication on my part, all of our borrowers are in good standing. Accepting one last discussion with Mr. Tankersley to make sure that we end up on the same page, I believe that the amendments to the program's rules that the Revolving Loan Fund Committee put together are sufficient to reactivate the program, and I'd like to see that happen. If you'll authorize me to go over that with Kevin at his convenience to make sure that he is comfortable with where things land. Significant time elapsed without any really strong interest in the program, but in the last 2 months or so, I've spoken with 3 potential applicants who are all currently operating small businesses and are looking at opportunities to fund growth, diversification, or both. A lot of, historically, for every one really serious applicant, it's somebody who's got an idea and it just sort of fizzles. But I've got 3 people who are in a position actually to expand, diversify both, and this program, with 2 exceptions, has proven to be a very successful tool for promoting small business growth in the county. I just don't want to bring it to you until Kevin is comfortable with the language generally and specifically what it does and does not expect of his office, so that doesn't create any unneeded liability on his end.
Just be bringing this back to us.
As long as you're okay with me having that conversation with Kevin and annoying him until he finally breaks down.
I believe we are.
Yeah.
Then unless you have any questions on anything, that's all I have for you. Thank you.
No questions for Nathan?
No.
Okay, Larry?
Good morning. I'm coming before the commissioners because, well, you're aware of, and Judge Welker's, her office is cooled by the old unit. Currently 15 years old. I got a proposal. I'm asking for the commissioners to be allowed to pay half to get the unit ordered, which is $16,500. And if I have enough left in my budget to pay the remainder at towards the end. It does have a dehumidification system built into it.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because I know we discussed that and
Yes.
be a part of that. So did you have the total cost of the unit?
Total cost is $33,000. I'm asking right now to pay the half of $16,500.
Just to get it ordered? And you
Just to
can
get
have
it
something
ordered.
in your budget?
But yes, out of my budget, but I'd also like the approval, if I have enough in December in my budget, go ahead and pay the whole thing off this year.
Okay. You have a written quote on that, Larry?
Yes.
Did you put it out for bid? Has it been put out
especially through the people that have been doing all our work on the Justice Center over the years. You'd like to see it quoted, Mike?
They currently do all of our work. They do inspection twice a year, all of our equipment. The first time they done inspection, I talked with Chuck on it. They found 3 cracked heat exchangers that were still under warranty. That's something as me as the maintenance director does not look at.
And we have a local representative, right? From
Yes,
the company.
Brent Smith.
Right. So we need a motion to move forward with Larry's request for the county to upfront 16,000 so we can get the project away.
Yeah,
Tell us.
she wants that to work the other way around.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
But it's okay.
ARPA money, are you suggesting?
That's what I'm asking.
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So that would be
And Chuck, I can pay that out of my budget. That's what I'm asking for me to pay. Unless you guys want to pay it, I'd be happy for that.
I thought you wanted it to pay so you can get it ordered and then
No.
send us back.
I'm just
No.
asking, I have to have approval for me to pay it out of my
Okay.
budget.
okay.
Okay.
That makes it easier.
Different.
That makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
But the next one, we can pay out of the ARPA money.
You can spend your money, Larry.
So.
So all in favor, say aye of moving forward with the project.
aye. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, guys.
Leanne?
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. My name is Leanne Wright, and I'm the Executive Director of the Community Foundation of Pulaski County. And with me this morning is Katie Surma, Community Navigator and President of the Pulaski County Drug-Free Council, our local coordinating council. As you know, the council is the planning and coordinating body for addressing substance misuse in the county. In February of 2023, the Community Foundation and Drug-Free Council stood before you to share some of the plans and potential courses of action the county could take to address substance misuse. And at that time, you received the Community Action Plan. This was to make recommendations on how the county might utilize the National Opioid Settlement funds. This plan was developed in collaboration with multiple stakeholders in the county, including our school systems, law enforcement, judicial system, hospital, community organizations, and families who have a loved one in recovery or who have lost loved ones from substance misuse, the experts in what is needed and what can be effective. Also, at that time in February, you approved the spending recommendations, the first round, and gave permission for us to apply for the FSSA Department of Mental Health and Addictions Matching Opioid Grant. And we were successful in that application and were awarded $402,800 to continue this work. And today we're here for 2 reasons: to provide you an update on the progress report of the Community Action Plan and also to make a request. So for the progress report on the Community Action Plan thus far, the Prevent Pricks program has been implemented so Pulaski County can be smart with their sharps. This is a collaboration between Drug-Free Council, the Sheriff's Department, and the Health Department. 3 sharps collection kiosks have been installed in the county in Maderryville, Monterey, and Winnemac, and approximately 240 pounds of sharps have been safely removed from the community since September of 2023. This was funded by the National Opioid Settlement dollars and aligns with several parts of Schedule B in the list of opioid remediation uses sent to us by the state. The Community Navigator position was established in March of 2023, and since that time, she has connected over 1,100 individuals to prevention, treatment, and recovery services and other wraparound services as needed. She's also developed a community resource guide and quick reference cards that are regularly distributed throughout the county. And this was funded by the matching opioid grant as well as national settlement dollars. The school liaison officer position was established, hired, and began duties in May of this year. She spent the summer working with IU Prevention Insights for training on prevention programs and models, and has been working with the Drug Free Council on restructuring the coalition to become more action-oriented. As an employee of the health department, she is working with the schools to develop and implement evidence-based prevention programs with and for the students. This was funded by the FSSA matching opioid grant. Also, under development is a drug treatment problem-solving court through Superior Court, and that is also funded by the FSSA matching opioid grant dollars. Family support services continue to increase. A NAR-Anon program is now offered on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. at the Winnemac United Methodist Church. It is 100% volunteer organized and unfunded. Recovery programming has been increased in the jail, including a yoga and well-being program that has been very well received by inmates and jail staff. The yoga program was funded by grants through Drug Free Council and the Community Foundation. The Recovery Cafe of Pulaski County has been established. They are in the process of becoming certified through the Recovery Cafe Network and are offering group meetings on Friday nights from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 127 East Pearl Street in Winnemac. In October, they will be able to offer a second meeting on Monday evenings, and this effort has been supported by the Community Foundation and funded by a grant from the Recovery Cafe Network. Hang on, guys, I'm getting there. Intrepid Phoenix, a workout and wellness program for those in recovery, has also expanded services in our community through additional gym memberships and an application that helps clients maintain their recovery journey. This was funded by the FSSA matching opioid grant. And progress continues for increasing the number of trained and certified peer coaches for Pulaski County. As you can see, it's been a productive few months. Now, on to the second reason we are here today. We have a request. We request that the county utilizes the restricted or abatement share of the National Opioid Settlement dollars to fund continued programming in the jail and to support the Recovery Cafe. The yoga program was a pilot program created by Ms. Lindsay Bartz of the Ladybug Foundation, who would be here this morning, but she is also a school teacher, so sends her regrets. She submitted a comprehensive report to you via email, but in a nutshell, the yoga program was highly received by both inmates and jail staff. Ms. Bartz collected data, and there is empirical evidence that this program is effective. And we also have one of the yoga instructors and also Commander Tabler here at the jail if you have any questions about that program. To fund this program for a full year, including the instruction, educational materials, and program management, data, and reporting, the cost is just under $18,000. The second part of our request regards the Recovery Cafe, which is currently 100% volunteer run. Brandon Williams, the executive director of the cafe, sends his regrets as he is also a school teacher and could not be with us this morning. The Recovery Cafe needs operational support to ensure that their doors can remain open and they can continue to serve the individuals who need them. And I believe they have almost 20 individuals that come on Friday evenings. The Recovery Cafe has an opportunity for a matching grant and needs to raise $10,000 to unlock an additional $20,000. So collectively, we respectfully request that $18,000 for the yoga program and $10,000 for the Recovery Cafe be expended from the abatement share of the National Opioid Settlement funds as they align with the core strategies of the state's list of opioid remediation uses, as well as the community action plan that was developed for Pulaski County. These efforts are furthering the work of supporting those in our community who seek long-term recovery. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and if you have questions, we're ready.
And your request for the funding, is that to expend what we've already given, or is that requesting another $28,000 for the program?
What was expended has already been spent, so this would be new dollars.
Request of new dollars.
Yes, sir.
For a yoga person? So how long is the session, and how many people are participating at one time?
So we have 2 sessions
session is maxed out with 24 participants. Our female session is as whoever, or however many females we have. So again, because we can't mix the sexes, so we have to keep them separate. So females, the whole population can come in. We do a elimination process for individuals that are the male population. I work alongside Command Taylor. He's gracious enough to give me his time to go through and see if there's any keeper parts, risk of endangerment, and qualifications for you.
How many sessions per week?
One session.
Just once a week?
And do you have the same people returning,
Correct, yes.
continuing to stay with the program?
Yes. I have actual results that you guys would like.
Are the ones that are going in prison now, or are they out on release?
They're current members of the Pulaski County Jail.
Okay, current inmates.
Or current inmates, I should say, yes.
Yeah. Inmate.
Where does the,
Yes, we have a gentleman that just completed the first cohort, and once he's released, he's putting a yoga studio in his house because it's been such a benefit to him. It's recovery driven.
where does the Recovery Cafe meet?
127 East Pearl Street in Winnemac. So
Old,
my former office, yes.
right, yes. Okay, the commissioners in agreement, we would need a motion. Provide 18,000 to the Drug Free Council for the one program and the Recovery Cafe.
Yeah, I would make a motion to go forward with both of those, the 18,000 for yoga and 10,000 for Recovery Cafe.
This would come from the restricted part of the grant. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
You're welcome.
Appreciated. Yes. No, so my understanding is the Drug Free Council is funded by fees from our court system, which then can be distributed into the community as grants, and their grant cycle is once a year. So typically in the spring, they just did a grant cycle, I believe April. That, it was paid, it was paid out. It was paid out. Deb Mix was the coordinator at the time. Yes. Yes. Mhm. We haven't done the grant cycle yet. We're working on it, yes. Mhm. No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we're down to signing of the claims, payroll 19.
Okay, I've reviewed the claims and payroll 19, and I make a motion to approve as presented.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we have the appointment of the Northwest Indiana Solid Waste District Board of Trustees. Currently, Mike McClure is serving on that. I'd make a motion if he's willing to have Mike continue to serve.
I would second that motion.
All favor, say aye.
Aye.
Conference requests. We have, Treasurer's Office. Teresa's the, LOW conference in Plainfield on October 7th. And then we have the Indiana Commissioners Conference as auditor-elect on December 2nd through the 5th. And newly elected newly elected training as auditor-elect and 12/10 to 12/12.
I would make a motion to approve all of these conference requests.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we had under discussion with Judge Welker concerning the leaks and humidity. I think we are going to meet with a group of contractors, John Allen and so on, to discuss that issue. And the other items, we have some changes taking place. The health department is looking to hire Maggie Chesak as the vital records bookkeeper position, as Celinda will be retiring, leaving that position. We would need to confirm that with a vote. Maggie Chesak coming vital records bookkeeper position.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve Maggie Chesak. Not sure if I'm saying that right. I don't think I am, but, yeah. As
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Favor say aye.
aye.
And that brings up another issue for the maintenance department. Right, Larry? Okay, so Maggie has resigned that position. Is that with a 2-week notice?
Her official start date will be the 23rd, so like 7 days.
Okay,
Figure it has to do with Celinda's vacation time, conferences and stuff. She'll be attending, try to get that training.
then did you have a person of interest for Maggie's position?
Yes, I have an application from Teresa Anderson. She's currently an employee of the county. She's the head cook in the jail. And she has worked in the custodial position for back under Maury, I believe.
So is that your choice at this time, is what you're saying?
Yes, she's already put in her 2 weeks notice. I talked to you yesterday.
Yes, right. So we need a motion to approve. Sorry, I forgot the name. What's the name?
Teresa Anderson.
To Teresa become part of the maintenance department.
Yes, so moved. Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So the end of the chain ends up in the sheriff's lap. He needs a new cook, right? Okay. He's not here today. Okay. He's cooking. Had to cook breakfast. Okay. Any other items? Gary, did you have something?
Yes, I have Leanne here with USI Consulting. We're doing some checking into possibly doing a sign inventory. There is some grant funding available, possibly to get some replacements on all of our county signs. So we're just in the preliminary stages on doing some checking on this sign inventory to be done. So
Okay.
the other thing is, if you walk in, you see the metals sitting down here, it'll probably go up sometime this week or next week around the outside of the building.
Great. Is your tractor out here online?
Yes.
for auction.
It's sold on Thursday is the closing on it, I think at 2 o'clock is when it closes, and right now it's not very high.
Anything else from the commissioners? Kevin, you have anything? No. Or, oh, September 30th on the E.M.S. director, then we'll be doing the interviewing and hopefully get that position filled, our first meeting in October.
Chuck, Mr. Stone is here. Sir, my name is Greg Stone.
I live in WhippleCrest. I talked to Tom Miller last night, my neighbor. We're actually looking to get the 2 roads removed that are plotted, but they're completely overgrown. They've been, there's no traffic on them whatsoever. They go directly behind our backyards. We want the roads removed just for safety. Don't want anybody driving through, which we've had people try in the past. But I found out yesterday Tom has acquired an attorney, so he's going to be following up on this. I had already made this appointment. I just wanted to show.
Okay.
And we are trying to get the road removed.
Okay. So you have anything to say about proper procedures on that, Kevin?
We said Tom hired a lawyer, that's the way to go. There's a way to do it in the Indiana statute. You petition the commissioners, but you have to fit certain criteria. You have to give the notice to the neighbors and give them an opportunity to respond.
Yeah, the only, there's myself, Tom Miller, and Jerry Tuley are the only 3 neighbors really attached to it.
Right.
So we own all the property around it. We just want, for our own safety, we'd
Right.
like to have. But we'll be having that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Community comments? Yes.
Thank you, Chuck. I have several concerns about the amendment to the Economic Development Agreement that was approved at a joint session on August the 12th. Today, I'm just going to mention a few. In the agreement, under the recitals, it says that the original agreement was made on October 10th of 22. Actually, that agreement was dated January 10th of 22. So just a right clerical error on that one. Also, it refers to some things that were changed, and they talk about Exhibit A. And Exhibit A was to be deleted and replaced with Exhibit A on this amendment. There is no Exhibit A that was attached to this agreement. We still don't know what Exhibit A is.
That's probably, all that is the sort of spreadsheet payment schedule.
Right. It's not online,
I will update that.
and it's not with this agreement. Also, it goes on to say in number 4 that in all other respects, the agreement remains in place. The original agreement allowed for the county to collect $120,000 for professional fees to be paid by the developer to the county. The last time I checked with the auditor's office, this payment was not received. So my question is this: when are we going to collect the $120,000 for the professional fees as committed by Mammoth Solar in the original agreement? It's been 2 years, 2.5 years. So I guess my question is that. Also, Moss Creek committed to pay $105,000 to the county. And to my knowledge, that has not been collected.
All that money was paid directly to the providers. All that money was paid, the 120, the 105 was all paid. Barnes and Warburg, and then Baker Tilly.
An agreement stated that the payment should have gone to the county, and then the county was to distribute to Baker Tilly. Yeah, it's on page 15, number 26. Or I can read it for you. developer shall pay the county the aggregate amount of $120,000 for the county's legal, financial advisory, and other expenses, professional fees, provided by Baker Tilly, Kevin C. Tankersley, and Barnes and Thornburg, related to the negotiation, execution, and implementation of this agreement between the governing bodies and the developer. I think it's quite clear that the payment should have gone to the county. Okay, so the next question I have is, how do we know that the providers are not double dipping and getting paid by the county and directly by the solar companies?
They got paid by the solar company. They didn't get paid anything by the county, so I guess that would.
Kevin, I believe you have stated several times that the litigation cost the county $200,000 to $300,000. But if you're getting paid by the solar developer, are you deducting those litigation fees from the county? And who knows what you have received? I'm just simply asking, the payment should have gone to the county, and you're telling me today it did not. We don't know what you received. There's no check and balance to make sure that there wasn't an error made and that the county is paying you legal fees that you already collected from the solar developers.
I got paid, Martin Thornburg got paid, Baker Tilly got paid directly by the solar developers, by Moss Creek and, Mammoth Project.
Could you tell us how much each one was paid?
Off the top, I don't know off the top of my head. So, to answer your question, anything I did on the litigation you initiated against the county was a combination of whether I was billed to the BZA, depending on whether I was defending an BZA action, whether it was something I was defending the commissioners for. A lot of that time was absorbed by my contract time. And those were the two that I billed separately. The APC had their own lawyer. This work that you're talking about is for the drafting of these documents, and that is it. It's not about any litigation costs.
Okay, so you did not charge or reduce any of your retainer fee, no, hours from the county to do the drafting of these fees. This is all separate.
Yes.
Okay, can you, I think it would be wise to tell the county what you've received from E.M.S Solar.
Who think is wise?
I'm,
Who cares what you think is wise?
well, obviously you do not.
I'm not gonna sit down and debate this. This one's cost this county a fortune with madness, absolute madness. She's lost every case, by the way.
That
You lost it. Yes, you have.
have not,
You lost every case.
Have not.
One you ended up dismissing.
have not.
You still have a case pending, by the way, against the old commissioners that you refused to dismiss, that we just filed a motion.
Mr. Tankersley,
You haven't taken action on it for over 3 years.
there is no reason to raise your voice.
Hey. Okay, I think it's probably time we adjourn.
Done nothing but try to hurt your-
Thanks for listening, commissioners.
Meeting's adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. Second meeting adjourned.
Yeah.